Hi, Avril here from Access Credit Union. We are delighted to once again sponsor the Star Sports podcast. As part of our range of new business loans, we now offer Cultivate Farm Finance, the farmer-friendly loan package. With a Cultivate loan, farmers in West Cork can benefit from the local decision-making and personal service offered by Access Credit Union. To find out more, go to accesscu.ie/cultivate, call me on 085 268 2727 or 028 21883, where a member of our team will be happy to help you with your inquiry.
Close your eyes and pull like a dog.
And a new Irish record for Phil Healy, 22.99.
Christy Cooney hands over the Sam Maguire Cup to Graham Canty, Cork All-Ireland champions for the 7th time ever.
Hello and welcome to the Star Sport podcast. My name is Jack McCarran of the Southern Star, and I'm joined as always by Star Sport editor Kieran McCarty. Before we kick things off, I'd just like to give a gentle reminder to our listeners and viewers to please rate, review and subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify and YouTube. The Star Sport podcast is brought to you in association with our friends at Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, where your bank really does matter. Choose the credit union, choose local, choose community. It's a ladies football special on the show this week, and we'll be joined by Cork and Kinsale footballer Orla Finn to chat about life under new boss Shane Ronayne and their progress in the National League so far. We're also going to be joined by Brian McCarty and Anne O'Grady, the management team who guided the West Cork Ladies to their first ever county title in 2020. We'll ask them about the disbandment of the West Cork Ladies team and what it means for the game in the region. But we're going to start with the return of the West Cork Rally, which returns to the roads this weekend after 2 years away thanks to COVID. And Kieran, it's fair to say there's huge anticipation amongst the motorsport community in West Cork as we edge closer to start time.
100%, Jack. Clonakilty will be the rally capital of Ireland this weekend, and with a good reason. It's the return of the Clonakilty Park Hotel West Cork Rally. So just a couple of details for our listeners. The ceremonial start is this Friday at 7:30 p.m. in Connolly Street in Clonakilty, and then the action on the road gets underway on Saturday with 8 stages that include Artfield, Hayes Cross, Sam's Cross and Rossmore. Then on Sunday, there's 6 more stages, including the iconic ring, which will be run twice. And then the finish ramp is at 4 p.m. on Sunday back in Pierce Street in Clonakilty. And it's a who's who of Irish rallying at this weekend's West Cork Rally. And it's great to see too, there's huge local interest, massive local interest. And we've a lot of local drivers too inside in the top 20 seeds. We'll have Daniel Cronin from Ballylickey seated at number 7. Owen Murphy from Ovens is seated at number 9 in his Ford Fiesta R5. Dunmanway's David Guest is seated at number 10, also in a Ford Fiesta. Clonakilty, the hometown hero, Cal McCarty, is seated at number 16. We've Jason McSweeney from Dunmanway seated at number 18. And another Clan man, Kevin Kelleher, is seated at 19. So huge local interest, and in all the classes too. So all eyes will be on Clonakilty this weekend for the West Cork Rally. Like I said earlier, the action is on Saturday and Sunday. So if you're looking for something to do this long weekend, I think you'll definitely find a good perch to watch the action unfold and watch the best local drivers and the best Irish drivers in action in West Cork.
And of course, Ireland's premium motorsport journalist Martin Walsh has a 2-page spread in this Thursday's Southern Star with all the details you need. So be sure to pick up a copy of the Southern Star if you're in West Cork this weekend and want to find out more about that rally. Now, Kieran, before we switch our focus to the ladies' game, we have to quickly touch on Cork's dismal loss to Meath in Navan at the weekend, and the fact that Keith Ricken's side are now staring down the barrel of a real relegation dogfight during the next 2 rounds of fixtures. Before I get your thoughts though, I want to play some audio from League Sunday on RTE and Colm O'Rourke's comments, where he labelled the Cork performance as pathetic.
Cork were pathetic, really.
Pathetic is a very strong word to use about Cork. Why?
Well, they lacked even the basic skills of the game, and it's no surprise that they are at the bottom of the second division, and they look as if they're going the whole way down. Ty Corkery takes a lot of steps, and a bad hand pass. Ian Maguire, which is featured twice in this, is a bit unfortunate because he was one of the better players. They constantly carried the ball into contact. Paul Ring, he can't even solo. Cathal Dineen pass behind. This sort of thing happened all day long. Easy wides, loss of possession. I think there was about 15 of those to choose from throughout the game. And Cork now look like a side who are in danger of going down to the third division and ending up in the Tailteann Cup because they're on the same side of the draw as Kerry. I cannot see them winning that one. So if they're relegated, they'll be playing in the second grade competition. But nobody should have any pity for anybody who's in that competition because you're getting 7 league matches and you're getting a couple of championship matches. So if you're not able to win from that position, then you can have no complaints.
No, but
Kieran, your initial thoughts on hearing that analysis from Colm O'Rourke?
Harsh words from Colm, in fairness. Like, I wouldn't go so far as call the Cork football team pathetic. I think that's crossing the line, really. But there's no denying, Jack, Cork are in big trouble. They're in serious trouble. Winless after 5 games in Division 2, and last weekend's loss to Meath, the performance was very, very disappointing. Very few positives for Cork to hang some hope off going into their last 2 games. That's starting at home to Down this Sunday, then away to Offaly next weekend. We've been saying on the podcast for a while that this is a big job that Keith Ricken has on his hands, but we've also been saying that Cork needs some results too, just to show that this is moving in the right direction. But Cork just are not getting the results right now. There's flashes of performances during games. I think in the home games against Clare and against Galway, there were periods in both games where Cork looked okay. But then you have the Derry performance, and then that loss to Meath last weekend, and it leaves Cork rooted at the foot of Division 2, and they're in big trouble, Jack. There's no getting away from that. Like, they're home to Down on Sunday, and this is the bottom 2 teams meeting each other, and this is a must-win for Cork. They really just have to win this game. If they lose this game, it's almost all over. So even though it's just a league, the pressure is starting to build on Cork because they need a result, they need a performance, and they need the players to stand up and show what they're all about on Sunday.
This is the big one, Kieran, and there's obviously going to be plenty of coverage of it in this Thursday's Southern Star as well. But as I mentioned, we're going to focus primarily on ladies football on this week's show. And Shane Ronayne's team, he's the new manager, obviously struggled at the start of the campaign, losing their opening 2 fixtures, but 7 points from today's guest against Waterford ensured survival in Division 1. And Orla Finn just continues to star for this Cork side, Kieran. She's been one of the top players in the country for a number of years now, and she's becoming more and more crucial to their success on the field.
Her longevity is a credit to Orla Finn. I think anyone who knows Orla, they're probably not surprised that she's still going strong. Like, she's turning 30 quite soon. She'll tell us in our upcoming chat, but she's still a key player for Cork. Like you said, against Waterford in that must-win league game a couple of weeks back, she scored, was it 7 points she got that day? And that was the difference between Cork winning that game and Cork losing and finding themselves in a relegation battle. With the change of management too, Orla Finn is one of the more experienced players. Like her, she's a really important role in this team, along with Ciara O'Sullivan and the likes of Martina O'Brien, players who've been that and done that and who've won All-Irelands in the past, because Shane Ronayne, the new manager, has brought on board he's brought online and given a chance to a couple of younger players. So those younger players to walk into a dressing room and to see Orla Finn sitting there and be able to pick her brains and learn from one of the country's top forwards, like, that's invaluable for those young players. And I think the good news too for Cork football is that Orla Finn is back again this year. I asked her about that, whether she was almost contemplating stepping aside after last season. Obviously there was a change in management, and when a new manager comes in, it's almost the start of a new project, but the appetite from Orla Finn is still there. And for Orla now and the Cork football team, they've 6-7 weeks to train ahead of the Munster Championship in early May. So she's in good form as she talks to us about the positives and negatives from Cork's league campaign. The National Football League is over for the Cork Ladies footballers, but we're delighted now to be joined by Cork forward Orla Finn to look back on the last couple of weeks and the last couple of games, but also look forward to the season ahead. Welcome back to the podcast, Orla.
Thanks very much.
So we're looking back on the National League Cork's Division 1 campaign. It saw defeats to Meath and Dublin and then a victory against Waterford in the final group game that meant Cork avoided that relegation playoff. So having had a chance to reflect on the league, how would you grade Cork's campaign?
Yeah, I suppose it's hard to know, this year with the league, with only having 3 games, it was hard for management in particular, having a new management team in and having so few games to play. It was difficult in that regard, but I suppose we just took each game as it came. We were unlucky against Meath. They're a great side. We lost by 2 points in the end, but it was anyone's game. It was an away game for us as well, so we'd be outing up to Meath. The Dublin game didn't go so well for us, but you know what, we learned a lot from it, and hopefully that will help us going forward into championship. And a crunch game then against Waterford, we had to win it or we'd be in a relegation playoff, which we want to avoid. So I think we did put in a performance, very good performance against Waterford in CIT last weekend. So we were very pleased with that. And the management as well got to see a lot of players in action, especially in the Waterford game. So that was important too for the championship and for the year ahead.
There's a couple of important points almost to put a bit of context around Cork's league form. You mentioned the one there, the fact there's a new management team. Shane Ronayne came in as manager. Another important point is it's a different league this year again. It's not like the old style 7 games and going into the semi-finals and finals. It was a 3-game group stage here. And it's also worth remembering too for Cork fans that the Mourne Abbey contingent, they were missing in bulk for the first 2 games, and I know some came back for the Waterford game. So when you factor all those in, it wasn't really your normal run-of-the-mill campaign for Cork.
It wasn't, no. I suppose we've been used to getting to league semi-finals and finals over the years, but look, this is the way it is now, and we've 2 months now to get ready for championship, which we'll work hard now over those 2 months, and hopefully it will stand to us going forward. But yeah, I suppose every county, only has those maybe 3 league games as well to prepare for a championship. So we're all in the same boat. So at least that.
What are the big learnings you've taken from the league? So kind of like you said there, you have a couple of months now before the Munster Championship. That's against Waterford in early May. What do you think Cork need to work on ahead of that game?
Yeah, I think just get a good team performance in, that's something that we really need to work on, that we all need to, work hard for the 60 minutes that we're on the field, and know that there'll be girls to come in from the sidelines and have, I think a very big thing is there'll be competition for places this year. As you say, the Mourne Abbey girls are back now again, and over the next 2 months, girls have the chance to step up and show what they can do and fight for places on the starting 15 for championship, because there will be, there are a lot of places up for grabs. None of us are safe really. So we do have to put in the work now over the 2 months, and hopefully we'll be a good step ahead than we were in the league campaign with all that training behind us.
Even an all-star forward like you, Orla, you feel your face, you feel your place isn't safe in this Cork setup right now, because I suppose since Shane came in as manager, it's probably a fresh start for everyone. So all the players are putting their hands up. They want to get on that starting 15 for the championship.
Yeah, definitely. When you play with a county team, your place is never safe. And if you think it is safe, then, you're not working hard enough. I think you have to always have that in the back of your mind, that you have to work your hardest at every training that you're doing, and that's the way you're going to improve. So, none of us do. And there's a lot of girls that have a chance to prove what they can do now, with the new management team as well. So that will be good as well.
I was looking at some of the players who played in the league over the last couple of games, and Shane Ronayne has given youth its fling in we've seen the likes of Abby O'Mahony, Rachel Leahy and Derek Canary start the last game. It's great to see this influx of new young players come through. Does that keep everyone on their toes in the panel?
It definitely does, yeah. Like I was saying, there's huge competition for places. Like I couldn't name what I think will be the starting 15 for championship, because there are so many girls putting their hands up. And as you say, the young girls really are working really hard. Abby had a fantastic game against Waterford there a few weeks ago or last weekend, and there's other girls as well, young girls that maybe were on the panel the last year or two, and they're really pushing on now and showing that they're playing at a senior standard. So all of those girls will be pushing for starting places come championship.
Anyone I've spoken anyone I've spoken to before about you, Orla, always says that you're so competitive. So how do you react to the extra competition in the panel, to see all these young guns coming in aiming for your spot, and you're there, you've been there, done it, you've won it all, but you're hungry for more? So does the competitive side of Orla Finn come out?
It does, of course. Yeah, you never want to be dropped from the starting team, and that's what makes you go out and do that extra bit and to work harder. If that was gone for me, I wouldn't be playing with the county team this year. So no, it is great to see that. I'm even thinking back on 12 years ago or whatever, when I started playing, I suppose the older girls were probably seeing younger girls coming up as well, and I'm in their shoes now. So it's about working that bit extra hard now that I'm pushing on. I'll be 30 now in April. So it is, just putting that extra bit of work in and enjoying the games, which is a big thing. I find as I'm getting a bit older, I am getting kind of nervous about games. So I'm just trying to this year try and relax and enjoy the year ahead.
And I presume over the last couple of years, you found your role within the group change as well, because you are one of those experienced players. So when those young guns are coming online, they're probably looking to you for experience, because like I said, you've been there and done that. So have you found that you're almost trying to impart as much knowledge that you have onto them and help them whenever you can?
Yeah, definitely. It's important. I remember when I was a 19-year-old coming up to the Cork seniors, and I was petrified. And I'll never forget how good the older girls were to me, the encouragement and the support that they gave for me as a youngster coming on. So I try to just be as nice and as encouraging as I can to the younger girls and give any bit of advice that I can give to them.
We had Shane Ronayne on the podcast. It is back late last year, just after he was appointed Cork senior football manager. And he said one of his goals was to keep that experienced cohort of players there, the likes of yourself, Martina, Ciara Sullivan, and so on, because you've been there and you've done that. Even before Shane came on board and before Aoife left, were you still thinking, okay, I'm going to go again next year? Or has it crossed your mind the last couple of years, I might be coming towards the end of it?
Well, yeah, I suppose you probably would be thinking the last few years, that this won't be forever. And I think this year in particular, I kind of came back, I took a little break at the start. The girls went back training in November. I didn't go back till mid-January, but in my head, last winter I was saying I mightn't go back till February or March, but I actually started to really miss it. And I was in the group chat and the girls were talking about training and stuff, and I was like, I want to get back at it. So I went back mid-January, and because I actually missed it. So I think what I'm trying to do myself this year is trying to enjoy it, because it's not forever. It's part of my life. I've been doing it for, I think this is my 12th season now. I wouldn't know life without it. And when I did stop playing, taking the break in the winter months, I did really miss it. So yeah, I'm just going to try and enjoy this year now and see what's to come then after that. And
you probably find like the older you get, the more you're going to enjoy it, because when you're younger, you think it's going to last forever. All Ireland finals, big days out in Croke Park. But again, like, you're so experienced, you've seen both sides of the coin, and you're at the stage of your career now where you're thinking, okay, that there is an end, hopefully not for a good few seasons yet, but there is an end point there. So you want to make the most of every opportunity right now.
Yeah, definitely. Even though, as I said earlier, I like the last few years, I have been kind of more nervous about games and stuff than I would have when I was younger. When you're younger, you just throw yourself into it. But as you get older, you start doubting things, which has kind of crept in over the last years. But I suppose being nervous and stuff is important too, because it means it shows that it means a lot to me. But yeah, I've made a conscious effort now this year to try and enjoy the trainings, enjoy being back with the girls, and enjoy playing the games, because you get some buzz after a game, if you win. And I don't know, is there anything else in life that will match the buzz after winning a game with the girls? So as I say, I'll enjoy it this year anyway.
And you can't beat the buzz of winning too. And the hope is that Cork will be in that conversation for the big prizes later in the summer. Looking back to last year, obviously it was heartbreak against Meath in that All-Ireland semi-final. It looked for so long that Cork were within touching distance of that final, but it was just snatched away right at the end. Did it take you long to get over that defeat, or have you got over that defeat to Meath?
Yeah, I think, for me, it was a strange one because I was injured. So I was sitting on the sidelines just watching on. I missed most of the championship last year, which was very hard. It was my first year really since I've been playing with the Cork seniors that I've missed a whole championship campaign. But for the girls who were involved in it, I think it really hurt, and hopefully they'll carry that hurt on this year to the championship and just remember how it felt to lose. And it was a surreal feeling really looking on, even from the stands. 2 minutes to go, I was like saying to myself, hopefully I'll be ready, my injury will be cleared up in another 2 or 3 weeks before the final. And I was even thinking about the final, and lo and behold, Meath came back. So I think a massive thing is it shows us that, it's not over till the final whistle. And I remember when I was on the panel first with the older girls, you saw us sing a song, Don't Give Up. It was like, don't give up till it's over. And Eamon Ryan, that was a big thing for him, not till the final whistle goes. And in the Meath game, maybe, we did stop playing and the concentration level went for the last 2 or 3 minutes. And that's what can happen in a game of football.
And that's a real lesson for I suppose for all young players, especially younger players, to learn. And it's a harsh lesson to learn on the big stage like that. But you'd hope that would steel them going forward too, that they can take that feeling afterwards, those couple of minutes, those days and hours afterwards, and use that to hopefully fuel and ignite something special later in the summer. Yeah,
hopefully. You need to learn from these experiences, and I think we have learned from it, and we'll carry that hurt with us now, and hopefully put in performances in the championship.
So what's the plan the next couple of weeks? So like I said, it's not till early May we take on Waterford in the Munster Championship. So how are you going to keep it tipping over for the next few months?
Yeah, I suppose we'll just train away and concentrate on ourselves now for the next few months. Training will be up in training and stuff, so no, it'll be great. And the college girls are playing the O'Connor Cup at the moment, so we'll have them back fully with us as well for the next 2 months, which will be great. And hopefully, as I say, the big thing is that we put in performances in any games that we play going forward.
And before I let you go, I have to ask about Shane Ronayne coming in as manager. We all know him so well from his time with Mourne, but having that change from Aoife Fitzgerald to Shane as the new manager, what have you found are the big differences?
Yeah, I suppose, we're very thankful for Aoife and all the time that he'd given over the last 6 years and his management team, but I suppose when any new management team coming in, it freshens things up, and it gives, a lot of girls a chance to prove themselves again. And as I say, that just shows that will really help with the competition that we have in the panel for places, because any girl can put their hand up, and show what they can do, because they need to impress the new management team, Shane and his team. So hopefully that will all help us now going forward with the new freshness to the whole thing.
And hopefully a good couple of weeks and months ahead, and the best of luck in the Munster Championship and the All-Ireland Series. Orla, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks a million, Kieran.
Delighted to be joined by Avril Condell of Access Credit Union, who's here to tell us a little bit about Cultivate Farm Finance. So Avril, maybe just give us a brief introduction to what Cultivate Farm Finance actually is.
So Cultivate is a collaboration of 40 credit unions throughout Ireland. West Cork has both Access Credit Union and Bantry Credit Union. The loan itself is up to 75,000 unsecured for 7 years is the max term, but obviously can be personalised and customised to each individual's needs. It's a great facility actually for farmers because it covers cash flow, machinery purchases, like there's a fertiliser crisis now, as we know. So literally anything that is required for the farm can be covered by this loan. The rate is very competitive. We can match the repayment term and the repayment frequency to each individual farmer depending on their enterprise. And you also have the benefit of the life cover that comes with the credit union loan, which I think is very important for people these days at no extra cost.
And if I'm a farmer and I'm listening to you on this podcast today, how can I get involved?
So if you're not sure of which credit union you're involved with, you can go to Cultivate Credit Union directly, which is www.cultivate-cu.ie, or you can phone 1800 839 999. And if Access is your credit union, you can contact me directly. So it's avril@accesscu.ie, or you can ring me on 085 268 2727.
Brian McCarthy and Anne O'Grady were key parts of the management team that guided the West Cork Ladies to their first ever county title in 2020, defeating perennial champions Mourne Abbey. But unfortunately, as of last week, the West Cork Ladies are no more. The regional side has been disbanded, and Kieran has caught up with Brian and Anne to chat to them both about what this means for ladies football in West Cork. But Kieran, just your own thoughts firstly on the disbandment of the West Cork Ladies, because as we know over the last number of years, it's given a brilliant chance to players from junior clubs to compete at the highest level in the county championship against sides like Mourne Abbey. So this has to be a blow for football in West Cork.
Yeah, big blow for football in West Cork. Brian McCarthy described it in last week's Southern Star as a hammer blow, and you can't argue with that. I've been a big fan of the West Cork divisional team since they came online back in 2016. They had five really good seasons that culminated in that famous county final win against Mourne Abbey back in 2020. And okay, West Cork were crowned county champions, and that was absolutely brilliant what they did. But it's almost... But this West Cork team was more than that. They just gave an opportunity for footballers across junior and intermediate clubs in West Cork to play senior football. And it's the likes of Laura Mahoney from O'Donovan Rossa, the likes of Libby Cobbinger and her sister Maggie from St. Columb's. You had Melissa Duggan in Downey's, who's probably the greatest example, because back in 2016 when she was with West Cork, this was before she was even on the Cork radar, and Melissa played with West Cork. She got noticed by the county selectors, came in to the county setup, and she's blossomed since and became one of the finest defenders in the country and an all-star defender to boot. So this West Cork team, it just raised the standards right across the region. It raised the profile of ladies football in West Cork. There's no doubt about that too. It raised the competitiveness and the interest in the county championship as well, because Mourne Abbey were rolling over all the other opposition before West Cork.
Yeah, Kieran, that's the biggest point, I think, or not the biggest point. Obviously, we've mentioned some of the bigger points, but one of the key ones is the fact that Mourne Abbey dominated this championship did they win it 10 years in a row, and finally a team was capable of competing. And to my mind, that just improves the championship no end. What's the point in having a one-team championship? Surely, for the betterment of ladies football, women's football in Cork, having a second top team makes the championship all the more interesting.
Exactly, because if you look at those couple of years, there was 3 years in a row there, 2018, 19 and 20, when it was West Cork and Mourne Abbey in the final. And there were some brilliant games there. Those teams had some brilliant battles against each other, because you two top teams going into battle against one another. And Mourne Abbey won in 2018 and 19, and then it was West Cork's turn in 2020. And while Mourne Abbey, of course, they'd have hated losing in 2020, they were getting that extra competitive games in Cork that they weren't getting before. And it's no coincidence back in, I think it was 18 and 19, that Mourne Abbey were crowned All-Ireland champions too. And Brian Cotter, the former West Cork LGFA chairman, made that point in last week's Southern Star, that he feels that West Cork almost steeled Mourne Abbey for the challenges that came after, because Mourne Abbey were getting those competitive, real tough championship games right here in their back door in Cork. So when they went out into Munster and the All-Ireland Club Series, that they were battle hardened. So I think it's a huge loss to the county championship, because they've lost a really, really good team. Obviously, they were county champions in 2020, but they've lost a team that added a real profile and spark to the county championship as well. And we saw last year West Cork set out the 2021 county championship because we were waiting for Rule 90 and the motion put forward by Cork to be debated and addressed at the LGFA Congress, which actually happened a couple of weeks ago, and that motion was defeated, and that's why West Cork aren't there now. But there wasn't that same spark about last year's championship, because you didn't have that West Cork team there, and there was almost a case of, okay, Mourne Abbey are going to win this, and they did. They beat Éire Óg in the final, and it's not a stab in the dark to say Mourne Abbey are going to win this year's Cork County Championship, because they're the best team there, and the odds are they'll win next year's as well, because even though the likes of Éire Óg and so on are improving, they're still not at the level to really, really challenge this Mourne Abbey team. So I think it's bad news for the Cork County Championship too. And as you'll hear now from Brian McCarthy and O'Grady, these are two people who've poured their hearts into West Cork for those 5 years, and they're really going to miss it. But they're very frustrated too, and they're very disappointed at this development, because they can see the benefits, not just for ladies football in West Cork, not just for ladies footballers in West Cork, but for ladies footballers outside the county, in other counties too, if they can just open their eyes and see the benefit of what divisional teams can bring and how we can raise standards both in clubs, in divisions, and in counties. So good stuff here from Anne and Brian. Delighted now to be joined on the Star Sport podcast by Anne O'Grady and Brian McCarthy from the West Cork Senior Ladies Football Management Team. Before we chat to Anne and to Brian, just a bit of context on this. If anyone read last week's Southern Star, our front page story was about the loss of the West Cork divisional team. So it really is the end of an era. The West Cork Ladies Senior Football Team that was on the go from 2016 to 2020, those 5 magical seasons, that team is no more. It all comes down to a motion that went to the recent LGFA annual Congress. It was a Cork motion hoping to amend Rule 190 to allow divisional teams compete in the County Senior Championship, but that motion was defeated. So the end result is that West Cork cannot compete in this year's County Senior Football Championship, and they actually can't compete in the County Championships going forward either. So like I said there, and it really feels like an end of an era. How did you feel when you heard the news that this West Cork adventure is over?
Yeah, look, I suppose we're extremely disappointed. I suppose myself and Brian have had the honour, privilege, I don't know the exact word, of being involved for all of the seasons that the West Cork divisional team existed for. Look, we knew it was going to be a very much an uphill battle to try and get Congress to change a motion. Look, the LGFA are notoriously difficult to change anything in their organisation. But look, we're extremely disappointed. I suppose anybody who has been either involved in or even just watching from the sidelines of what the division did for ladies football in Cork, I think anybody even who wasn't involved with West Cork directly, the other teams, really did see how it upped the intensity in championship and made a big difference. So I do think it's a huge loss to the actual bite of Cork Championship myself, besides the fact obviously that we're directly linked to it.
Brian, I was talking to you for last week's Southern Star, and you described it as a hammer blow to ladies football. And I think it's quite important here to note that there was absolutely no wrongdoing on West Cork's part over the last 5 years. West Cork were allowed enter the county championship because the Cork County Board gave them the green light. So West Cork entered the county championship because they were allowed into it. And what a fantastic voyage you had over those 5 years. But you've had a bit of time now to almost digest this news. You've been, like Anne, involved from the very start. So how do you feel right now?
Thanks, Kieran, and thanks for the support over the last number of years as well to you and the Southern Star. Like Anne, extremely disappointed. Still am. It's taking a while to sink in. I suppose there's only 3 phases of this: disappointment, frustration, and angry as well to a degree, because not just for myself and Anne, but I think in ladies football in general, I think there has to be a lot of questions asked about people who make these decisions and how they can see that the benefit of not having divisional football involved in ladies it helps ladies football become even better than what it is. Like Anne rightly said, I think we've had some great battles, not just with Moore Nabby, obviously they're the highlighted ones, but I can remember having great battles with the likes of St. Val's and Éire Óg. And look, yes, we went to finals and we lost in semi-finals and we won in 2020. But I think anybody who saw us and saw the jewels that we had with those teams will say that without question, anybody with any football brain in their head will say that we were of benefit to Cork Ladies football as a whole.
And over the years, like we said, we've seen this West Cork team develop from 2016. And if you go back to 2016, when West Cork came online, there was a North Cork and an East Cork team as well at that time. Those divisions were coming together. But divisions seem almost unique to Cork when it comes to ladies football, because I was so surprised to see how heavily the motion was defeated. It seems like other counties actually can't grasp or don't understand the concept of a divisional team in ladies football and the benefits that brings then.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I am unsure now. I obviously wasn't at Congress. I don't know how much the emotion was gone into in detail or explained, but I really don't think people grasp what exactly it is. I don't even think, besides that first year in 2016, Cork have fully grasped what divisional football can actually bring. We were the only ones who survived beyond 2016, and that was by, I don't know, some act of God nearly, that we defeated North Cork in that very first game. And it could have been the other way around. Maybe North Cork would have been the division that would have survived for 5 years. I don't know what act of fate that was. But I really think it's disappointing. Even when you look at the likes of Waterford, Clare, you've got the banner, you've got Ballymacarbry just cruising to, title after title. Ballymacarbry, I think, have 40 titles now or something like that. And you'd say surely maybe a divisional side would be an option there to put it up to them, to create a bit of competition, to give them, that bite in their championship as well. I really don't think people see the merit of divisional football, which is strange because obviously it is there in the camogie, it's there in the hurling, it's there in the football, and it's just ladies football again just seemed to be behind the curve again.
Just on that, Anne, the fact that there is divisional teams in the camogie championship, in the men's hurling, in men's football, but not in the LGFA, not in the Cork Ladies Senior Football Championship, it kind of beggars belief in some ways that the LGFA haven't grasped that the other codes are using divisional teams to such good effect. And why don't the LGFA follow the same route?
Yeah, it really does beggar belief. I find it so hard to understand. And I know there's been a lot of talk at the moment about, the motion to unite all the associations and everything. But again, the Ladies Football Association seems to be, I suppose the most stringent in and I suppose least willing to kind of give up anything really at all. Like they will engage in it once they keep every single thing themselves, their own president, everything. And I just think that they're not focused on what exactly is the best outcome for the players, because while you have the dual players in intercounty, like a divisional side is for the club player. And I know West Cork, I totally understand that West Cork had a lot of intercounty players. We were lucky that way. I mean, if we existed this year, we'd have a lot less intercounty players. With Clon gone up, the Valley's gone up. So I really think it was the club players who benefited, the likes of the Siobhan Courtneys, all of those who really got the chance to play senior football. Melissa Duggan came onto the scene in the Cork Seniors on the back of the first year in 2016 with West Cork. I just really think it's the club player here has suffered more than the intercounty players. They have their high standards, they have their county games, but I think a divisional team offers senior high quality football to a club player who might not ever get the chance to do it with their own club through no fault of their own.
Just on that, Brian, the opportunity that the West Cork divisional senior team gave to local players over the years, and mentioned there the likes of Melissa Duggan. I'm thinking Laura Mahoney from a junior club like O'Donovan Rossa, Libby and Maggie Coppinger from St. Colum's, and there's obviously far more than that. The fact that those players got to play in the senior championship, they got to put themselves in the shop window, they got to show the Cork boss, whether it was Evie Fitzgerald at the time, look at me, see what I can do. Like, that was a fantastic opportunity for junior players in West Cork.
Absolutely, Kieran. And even in the present Cork manager, Shane, because we came up against Woodmore Abbey, he'd have seen what we were trying to do with the divisional team, and he would have seen how competitive we were against them. And no, because he's in the job at the moment, he'll see the benefits of that. He probably knew about the girls already, but he'll now say that, look, these girls can compete at senior level. So there's that. I think for the local club players, whether you're from Clonagale or you're from Bandon, just to name a few, whether you're from O'Donovan Rossa or you're from Bantry or any club that wants to be involved in it, the door was always open. From myself and Anne and Jor and Dinny and James and Michelle, it was always open to whoever wanted to come. And look, there was clubs there who were very, very open to it. And then there was clubs who were saying, look, we can't afford to let players go. Well, we got that. And that was the nature of the beast. And going back to Anne's point, yes, we had a lot of inter-county players at one stage, but if we were there this year, we'd have lost an awful lot of inter-county players. But that was the nature of the beast, and we accepted that. I think the benefit for other counties, and that's the frustrating part of this, is that your counties voting in something that, first of all, they already didn't understand, and second of all, it didn't really affect them because they didn't have divisions in it, in their own county. We were the only county that had a division in it. And we were making the Cork Senior Championship extremely competitive, and that's no disrespect to the other teams that are in there. As I said, we had great battles with Aero Oak, St. Val's, and others as well, but not to the degree that we know that we were extremely competitive in what we were trying to achieve. Look, we lost to Moore Abbey in 2 finals, no question about it, and we didn't complain or we didn't say anything. We just said, right, what's going to happen next year? And the great thing about this was the enthusiasm from the girls, whether you were a club player or whether you were a girl who was playing at county level, and will verify this. Within a month of the championship finishing, or we were beaten or we had won, girls wanted to know what was happening. Was it in next year? We want to play, when are we getting together again? There was huge enthusiasm for it, and it's very, very frustrating. We would love to have a chat with people outside the county and say, look, we'll take Kerry, for instance, your own county, whether there's girls down there who could see the benefit of this and explain to them. And yes, you have to go to clubs and explain to them as well and show them the merits that their girls will improve by playing with better quality girls in better quality games. And with respect to some of the clubs that are out there, might never reach this level.
Just to pick up on that, Anne, I don't think it's a coincidence that the West Cork team came online and all of a sudden West Cork Ladies football almost took off. If you look at the success of West Cork Ladies clubs over the last couple of years, O'Donovan Ross have won county titles, Castlehaven are on a fantastic roll, Valley Rovers now are flying as well. And a lot of those players from those clubs involved with the West Cork team, so they were getting in there, they're playing senior football, they never going back to their clubs. And all of a sudden, West Cork Ladies football was on a high. Would you feel the same that West Cork just benefited clubs too? The players obviously benefited from playing senior football, but the clubs benefited then from their players playing senior football.
Oh, 100%. Like I suppose every player wants to play at the highest level possible, whatever that is to them. And your club comes first. Like Brian and anyone who we worked with over the years, we've never once asked them to put the division before their clubs ever. And we always, that's the way we operated, and the players knew that, and they knew they could come to us, whatever it was. But in return for that, I think that we really got the commitment from the girls then, because they saw that we were going to work with them, whatever that meant, because we all were looking towards that goal, that senior championship. It definitely strengthened the football within West Cork. It even just strengthened the profile of it alone. Just that we were in senior championship, people were talking about West Cork. People were looking for, the gear to wear, going to games. Small girls looking up to the inter-county players, but now the West Cork players as well. Girls who before would say they wanted to play with Cork now had a dream of playing with West Cork. And I just think that was powerful in itself. And like, that's not made up, that's genuine. And I just thought that was amazing, really. And I suppose made it incredibly enjoyable to be a part of. And I suppose now that it's over, on reflection, while, people said over the years we should have won it in year 1 or year 2, or look at the players you had, I'm glad it took 5 years, because, it's something I really miss now. And I'm just so glad I was a part of it for those 5 years. But I am glad that we got 5 years to create that real bond. And, as well, I do think it's important to note that, it did take us 5 years. So you can have all the talent you want on paper, but you've got to get the girls to think like a group, and act together, as a team. And it did take us that long to beat Mourneabbey and to beat Vals and to beat Aerogan and to get it all together. And I think that does show the power of a club over a division. So I think that's important to note as well, that, I suppose each year we were thereabouts, and it was fine to have all the talent that you want on paper, but there's more than that to winning a senior county championship. And I think all the girls will say last year in 2020, when we did win it, it did feel like a club. And I suppose that's really important as well, that the club is, first and foremost for any player. And, when it started to feel like a club, that's when we won.
And made a brilliant point there, Brian, about West Cork, about the opportunity it gave the club players. Not every footballer is going to play for their county. If we're being honest here, for some players, playing for West Cork is effectively playing for the county. That's what they strive to do. And West Cork divisional team gave club players across West Cork the opportunity to put on the West Cork jersey and represent their club and represent their division. And that was hugely important too.
Absolutely. Just to reiterate Anne's point there, the amount of people I've come across, parents of girls who are currently playing with their clubs and saying that they wanted to play with West Cork, whether you're involved in West Cork development, and you're looking to further them on to Cork down the road. But there was an opportunity then of playing with West Cork if they didn't really make it. And that was a huge help to parents, to players, to see that West Cork were opening a new door for them. I think it has to be looked at it like equality is a big thing here for me in this decision, in terms of the LGFA saying they want equality across the board for girls. And I think this decision, it goes against that grain, actually, really and truly, because I think if you want equality across for all players, and you have a player out there who, look, for one reason or another, their club might be able to get to senior level, but yet this door was opening for them to play with a divisional team and to strive to be better than what they are. Like if it's in men's football and if it's in camogie and it's in hurling, why isn't it in ladies football? That has to be seriously asked why at the top table. But unfortunately, the decision has been made. And look, maybe when when, and it will be when, not if, when the organisation become under one umbrella above in Cork Park, maybe these rules might just change, and you might see a division again coming on board in West Cork and in other areas as well.
I have to ask you too, Brian, about how competitive West Cork were in the county championship for those 5 years. Like Anne spoke about, it was a journey from year 1 to year 5, and it culminated in 2020 with that brilliant victory over Mourneabbey. But if we think about West Cork and Mourneabbey in the county championship, there was some battles over the years, and it really not only raised the standard of the Cork Ladies Senior Football Championship, but it also raised the profile. There was more column inches, there was more interest generally in the Ladies Football Championship, because we had 2 genuinely top-class teams rather than Mourneabbey, who were going for the 7-row back in 2020. Mourneabbey were just bossing. They were rolling over all the other club teams in the County Football Championship. West Cork came along, gave them a real challenge, real opposition, and maybe it's no coincidence that since West Cork came along, Mourneabbey went on to win the All-Irelands because they had those battles here at home. But just from your own point of view, those battles with Mourneabbey, those games, like that was proper championship football.
Yeah, and even talking to girls who might have come out of Cork minor football, and I look, there just to take an example, I think it was Laura actually said it to me one day, where she wanted to play senior football with West Cork, and it took her a while to get used to the pace of the game. I think most girls found that coming from whether it was club or, as I say, Cork minor, the pace of the game was absolutely frightening, and it was electric football to watch. It was up and down the field. Yes, look, you had certain teams who wanted to go defensive against us. I think from day one, we wanted to play an open, expansive type of game, which might have cost us in certain games. We get that, but we sort of stuck to the moral and the principles of that type of football that we wanted to bring. And I think you looked at different teams, different scenarios where, look, whether it was the first day against North Cork, right? I'll never forget Aisling Judge had a game from Kinsale that I think she'll never have a game again where she stopped about 6 certain goals. And yet Orla Finn at the very, very end blocked a shot from Breed Stack, and Breed Stack was full back for North Cork. Those things will stick in your mind all the time. Then you move on to the game against St. Vals, which everybody thought we'd go down to Macroom and beat St. Vals out the gap, and they beat us by 2 points. And going back to Anne's point, there was a lot more involved in this, in saying to 15 girls of a certain standard, oh, just go out and play. Like, it just doesn't happen. It certainly doesn't happen. And for one reason or another, we'd say the battles against Mourneabbey will probably stick out in my mind all the time, because there were really, really good battles. The replay, or the first county final against them, where it went to a replay. Yes, they beat us and were convincing winners in the replay. I totally put my hands up when you're coming up against a team of a generation. I believe probably one of the best club teams that this, not just Cork, but all of Ireland have ever seen. And more, they deserve great credit for that. So then they're trying to battle against the club, and everybody says, oh, you have to pick a division. But to try and formulate that, get a format that suits the girls that are there, get them to play together, try to get them to training. There's a lot of work involved. And look, in 2020, it just clicked. And we knew ourselves that if it clicked, we wouldn't be far away. And I don't think many people will forget Dara Kiley's goal to win it at the end. I think she'll go down in history for that one. But very, very enjoyable battles. And I think, going back to your point there about Mourneabbey winning 2 All-Irelands, great credit is due to him. But I think, and I'm not going to put words in Shane's mouth or anything like this, but I think any coach worth the salt, and he is certainly worth the salt, he knows that if your team can overcome a ferocious battle, it can only be good for them in games going forward. And I think that's what happened for them. And look, they deservedly won their All-Irelands, and more luck to them.
I want to kind of turn the mood in this conversation and make it almost a happier mood now, because I know we're all disappointed West Cork is gone. So looking back over the 5 years, what are the highlights and standout moments for you?
Oh God, that's a tough one now. There's actually quite a lot, I suppose. Like, I mean, obviously the standout highlight moment, of course, is winning the county final in 2020. But you know, I suppose when I look back on it, like I've been really fortunate in my footballing, managerial, coaching career to be involved in a lot of different types of teams. You know, between underage and Bantry, intermediate and Bantry, West Cork, obviously, developments, Cork minors. Like, I've had massive experiences, but there was just something special about West Cork. It's actually very hard to put your finger on it. And actually, Brian Cotter, the night of our chairman from last year, on the night of our social just put it really well. Like it just did something, that winning that county final. It just was the culmination of genuinely 5 years. It wasn't just 2020. It was the hurt, getting close, getting beaten. You know, it was just everything coming together. But I would say if I had to pick a highlight, it's genuinely the friendships that I've gained from it. You know, be it managerial or be it from the players, and just the bond that I created in West Cork between the girls. I think any of those girls would do anything for each other now, and they're genuine friends. And I'd like to think that even as a management and players, that we've left West Cork now as friends, that senior team, but in a very good place, a very positive place, where, you know, they might be, I suppose, rivals on the pitch for 60 minutes, but at the end of the day, you know, they'll always be united by that county medal and what we did for 5 years. I think it really meant something, certainly to me anyway.
Brian, in its current guise, obviously the West Cork team, like we said, it's the end of an era, but Rule 190 does allow for amalgamated teams to go forward. So you can have players from 3 junior clubs or from 1 junior or 1 intermediate club can amalgamate to form a senior team. Do you think we could see West Cork in a different guise, or do you think that West Cork is going to be parked for now?
The heart says, I wish it could, Kieran, but I think anybody with a brain cell or common sense will realise that rule is absolutely nonsensical. I think if you were asking any person who involved in a division to go to 3 junior clubs and try and get 8 players from that junior club, minimum 8 players, to form a panel for a divisional side to play a senior championship, I think is asking quite a bit. That really is just it's just unreal and unbelievable, and it's not realistic whatsoever. So I think whoever in their wisdom decided to put that rule in there decided, look, this is the best way not to formulate a divisional side, I think, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. I would hope, I'm always an optimist, that maybe down the road, just maybe, we might be having a conversation, or where maybe no management might be having a conversation in 2 or 3 years' time, that a divisional side might start up in West Cork again under a different guise. But in terms of the new going to 3 junior clubs or 1 intermediate and 2 junior clubs, I think that's just not realistic, Kieran, to be honest. I'd love it to happen, because I think it gives, again, like we've reiterated how many times, that it gives club players a great chance to play at a higher level and go back to their own clubs, even better players. But at this stage, I don't think so.
I know it kept the 2V incredibly busy over the years, and of course all the other members of the management team since 2016. But Anne, how much are you going to miss the West Cork team?
Oh God, I actually can't. I genuinely can't put that into words. I think since 2020 we knew we were in trouble. Like myself and Brian regularly had the conversation, we're going to be in trouble once we win. You know, there's going to be some obstacle come our way, and look, it's the biggest obstacle that you could have imagined, I suppose, or we could have imagined. Like I already said, you know, with all the teams I've been involved with, you know, I think if I could go back to one this year now, it would be the West Cork senior ladies. You know, I just think that there's something there. You get new players, you get player turnover. It's forever changing. It's just, and I don't know, I suppose being from West Cork as well, you know, they say that there's something about that people describe themselves not from being from Cork, but from West Cork. And I think that that's what it's all about. And the fact that we were all obviously, you know, fighting for the one cause, or whatever you want to say, and for the one jersey, I honestly can't put into words how much I'll miss it. And I suppose now that it's actually on paper, you always had that hope that we were clinging to, but now that it's actually on paper, it's really devastating.
Ryan, final question. I'll come to you. You've been there, like Anne, you've been there since day one with this, that day in Ballyvourney. I remember going to that game. I couldn't find the pitch first. I was there trying to, Jesus, where's this game on? And then I got there. But even the memories of that game, you mentioned Breed Stack there, and she was incredible that day, pouring up the field for North Cork. Like, it was an incredible game, and it was the start of almost a magical journey that went on for 5 years. And I think 50 or 60 West Cork players got the chance to play championship football for West Cork. So I want to ask you, Brian, how much are you going to miss it? Because you were involved so much over the years. So what's going to fill this hole, fill this void for you?
Don't come up with easy questions, Kieran. Unfortunately, very much like Anne, I think it becomes part of you. You will look forward to it every year, without question. I think And since 2016, since I got a phone call from the West Cork board chairperson at the time to say, would I get involved? I said, absolutely. It's been a joy to be involved with. And there's times myself and Anne and everybody else would be scratching their heads to decide, to see who's going to turn up for training, how many do we have, and all this. But I think there's memories will stick out. I think the memories will always be there. I think till the day we part as earth. I think it's been a fabulous journey. Just one memory comes to mind is we were above in, we'll say, my own club pitch here in Drum League, and we think the Sunday before the county final we did a training session. I think 3/4 of an hour was all fun, and we were thinking to myself, how are we going to prepare for a county final? And I don't think I've ever seen a happier bunch of players walk out of a training pitch in good form. And then we train on the Tuesday and Thursday, and obviously we were doing our tactics and our game plan. But that was one. But I think so many memories, and great credit is due to just the West Cork board, the sponsors that helped us along the way, but also the players deserve huge credit for this, because look, you have the likes of Claire O'Shea, Christina O'Sullivan, Anya Terry, Niamh Terry coming up from Ahli's, and we say Dara and Emer Kiley coming down from Ballincollig and Valley Rovers, and the girls from Shannon. You've Fiona Keating was coming from Ballinspittle. So huge mileage done, but all for one cause, and all for the enjoyment of playing football at senior level, which they wanted to do. Nobody forced them, nobody asked them, they just wanted to do it. And I think, like Anne said, I'm delighted it took 5 years. Of course, we went in year one, we wanted to win it, but because it took 5 years, I think there's a bit more satisfaction in that the realization that, yeah, we had to go through a bit of hurt. But when we finally won it, I have to say it was as good as anything I've ever won.
It's the end of an era. Thanks for the memories. Hopefully we'll see West Cork back in a different guise at some stage in the future. Who knows what the future holds? If that amalgamation gets the green light at some stage, we might get West Cork back on board again, and the dream team of Brian and the rest can come back on board. But thanks very much for coming on for the chat today. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Kieran. And as Brian said earlier, thank you to you and the Southern Star for all the coverage over the years. It certainly made things a lot easier for us with the profiles. Thank you very much.
Hi, Avril here from Access Credit Union. We are delighted to once again sponsor the Star Sports podcast. As part of our range of new business loans, we now offer Cultivate Farm Finance, the farmer-friendly loan package. With a Cultivate loan, farmers in West Cork can benefit from the local decision-making and personal service offered by Access Credit Union. To find out more, go to accesscu.ie/cultivate, call me on 085 268 2727 or 028 21883, where a member of our team will be happy to help you with your inquiry.
Okay, Kieran, let's quickly wrap up this week's podcast then with a preview of what's coming up in this Thursday's Southern Star, which will be in shops on Thursday, despite the fact that it's St. Patrick's Day. So if you're looking to spend your day reading some excellent local sport, the Southern Star will be available across West Cork and, of course, online. So, Kieran, what is in store for readers on this St. Patrick's Day edition?
There's something for everyone. We've all the sports covered in this Thursday's Southern Star. Just want to say huge congratulations to Beara Community School. They were crowned All-Ireland's school Senior D football championships last weekend. So we have a full page on that, the match report and reaction from a memorable day for Beara Community School. Also, Sacred Heart Secondary School in Clonakilty won a Munster football title last weekend. So congratulations to the Sacred Heart. So that's well worth checking out as well. Tom Savage of the Three Red Kings has put a really, really good piece together on Fineen Wycherley for this Thursday Southern Star. So Fineen has won one Irish cap so far, and Tom is asking what Fineen needs to do to add to that one Irish cap. And he's suggesting a positional change for Fineen. So that's well worth checking out. We've a two-page special, like we said earlier, on the Clonakilty Park Hotel West Cork Rally. Top stuff from Martin Walsh here as he goes through the local drivers, the local interest, the rally itself, and some good local angles in this two-page preview. And a treat for West Cork GA fans, we have an extract from Dennis Hurley's new book, Cork Hurling Game of My Life. And we have a chapter on Johnny Crowley, who's originally from Inniskeen, the Cork hurler. I think he won 5 4 or 5 All-Irelands in the 70s or 80s. So we have an excerpt from that, and it's well worth reading. Top class stuff there from Dennis Hurley, and the very best look at Dennis in that book, which is being launched quite soon as well. And soccer-wise, we've obviously the West Cork League news, but just a quick heads up on John O'Donovan. He's a young soccer player from Ardfield. He's a student at Clonakilty Community College, but he's been selected on the Irish school squad for the Centenary Shield, and that starts for Ireland on Thursday. I think they're playing Scotland up in Dublin. So congrats to John O'Donovan. He's in with the Cork City under-19s. He's done great stuff with the under-17s. He's former West Cork Kennedy Cup player, learned his trade at Ardfield. He's going on to bigger and better things. So we've that news and a lot more in Thursday Southern Star.
Brilliant stuff, Kieran. And of course, if you can't make it to the shop on St. Patrick's Day, you can subscribe at any time online. Just go to www.southernstar.ie/e-paper and subscribe for less than €2 per week. Thanks for listening to the Star Sport podcast this week. We'll be back at the same time next week. If you enjoy these shows, please make sure to rate, review and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Slán Tamil.